How dramatic can I be? The hometown cable spotlight swings onto the town of Plattsburgh Supervisor Bernie Bassett. How are you?
Very good, very good. Good morning.
You were, when I first met you, you were in the band business, then you went teaching, and now you're a successful politician, and the town of Plattsburgh is supervisor. It's been a good gig, hasn't it, for you?
It has been. It has been. Things have changed a lot from some of those early teaching years, and 33 years in public ed with administration. Did adjunct work at Plattsburgh State for 19 years, and
it's wonderful.
Now we're doing this, so it's exciting. Life is exciting.
We're all a package, aren't we?
Yeah.
Including the town of Plattsburgh, which has a lot of exciting things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Those people who watch our little corner in hometown cable here and elsewhere on the internet know that we love to take rides and walks around towns and villages and communities and show the pictures then and then show the videos later to show what progress is all about. This town has been bursting at the seams for a long time, and I have no clue where it's going to be 10 years from now. And even though you have very professional people who look at those things, even you will be surprised a decade down the road, I'll bet you.
I think I might be, but I think I'm going to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we'll look at today. One thing that I think that's changed in the last 4 years is we've really built the vision. We formalized the vision. We're sharing the vision. We're putting some of the pieces in place for some pretty significant positive change. And you're seeing signs of that right now in spite of a very challenging economy. And we'll take a look at that stuff as the morning goes on.
If our stomachs growl a little bit during the process, it's because we're tuning up for Thanksgiving. We're recording this not too many days before Thanksgiving in 2009. And there's so much to talk about in this town. Most people who live here are at least familiar with some of the things we're going to talk about today, but I dare say, Bernie, there are natives of the town of Plattsburgh who have no clue about what's been going on behind their backs up here.
You're absolutely right, Gordy. You know, I'm a native. I was the one sibling out of three in my family that stayed. I was tempted as they all, beckoned me to go, and I looked at the Washington area, the Minneapolis area, my sister and brother ended up, and it was very tempting. There was a lot of opportunity, a great deal to do, but something kept holding me here, and I found each time I brought something back that I really felt, I saw elsewhere that, why aren't we doing it? Why don't we have it? And I didn't know I would be the one to have to make all that work in the future, but I never realized, and to this day, actually, as we're driving around the town, I may see some things I didn't know existed. You just don't realize. Most of us, we get up, we go to work, we come home, we have the places and the people we socialize with. We tend to be creatures of habit. But to just drive around, we'll make a point today to go out to the Carbide Road, and you're going to see the North American presence of a significant corporation that has grown many $1 million over in these last few years and is not only growing today, we'll see signs of it, but we've begun the process for the next round of growth, and this one isn't even done, creating a lot of jobs, building a tax base, and it's just tucked away and no one drives by it, and every time I bring someone out, they say, oh my God, what is this?
Yeah.
You'd expect to see it on a corporate boulevard. So you're right. We really don't know, and that's one of the things I hope we're able to share today is the real diversity of this town, from some beautiful rolling countryside to the commercial hub of the county with our Route 3 corridor, Smithfield, and the industrial parks, and we're going to have some fun.
We're going to open doors and windows into what the town of Plattsburgh is all about today. And I mentioned before, there are many people who live here who've never been on the Carbide Road, but you're going to go there through the magic of Calvin's television camera today. This is a wonderful map you've created for us today. Thanks to this wonderful world we live in.
Yeah, technology is great.
We can just get that old satellite beaming right down here. Now, explain this to me. This is very interesting.
Well, looking, as a bird's eye view, let's take a little bit of a holistic approach. We have the outer municipal boundaries, which it creates a very interesting shape for the town of Plattsburgh, which is bound on the east by Lake Champlain. So you have a very beautiful peninsula, the Cumberland Head Peninsula, that is the northeast gateway to all of New England, which is a very special spot with our Lake Champlain Transportation Company. And if we go all the way to the west, of course, we get out into some very rural areas. We encompass the villages of Cadyville, Morrisonville, and so on. We hub into this commercial area. We can just begin to see the former Clinton County Airport, which we'll also go visit today and take a look at what's happening and what's going to happen. I really hope today to share a vision that's mine. It's a vision of many, many other people for the future of this municipality. We also see the flight line, something I'm told you can see from space.
Oh, yes, you can.
And that actually was on the short list in the event of an emergency for the space shuttle to use.
At one point it was, yes.
Incredible facility. And, you know, we'll talk a little about the transition from a former Air Force base to what has become just you know, a transition that has been extremely valuable and profitable. Of course, we have the Saranac River that meanders along, creating part of our boundary as well, and the city of Plattsburgh. I often share with folks, as you know, a lot of years in education, teaching, administration, higher ed, elementary ed, I filled a lot of the gaps there. And science, of course. We learn about the amoeba. And as I look at this map, I can't help but think of this as a giant amoeba with a little food particle here, and you know, a pseudopod is about to come around and just gobble it up. And there are those people in the county, in the valley, that certainly still, in fact, I was in a meeting yesterday where it came up again about a single Plattsburgh instead of a town and a city. You know, that we would go back to the way it was many, many years ago with one municipality. But this map really helps show how the city is located within the town and certainly confined by the town's boundaries and the lake, which, you know, for their municipality presents some unique challenges that they have to deal with.
Each side has its own parochial view. This combination idea has been raised how many times since I first came to town, and even before that, and who knows what the future might bring. I know how you feel.
Yeah, well, you know, again, I have to put my my municipality's hat on, and the dowry is a tough one in this sure marriage. Our municipality's doing pretty well. We don't have a town-wide tax even. We're able to satisfy our needs with government through sales tax and other resources. That's been getting more and more challenging. We might talk about that in the future. I think right now, my friend the mayor, Donnie Kasperzak, and I have a great relationship. We do share a lot of services. We share more than maybe even the mayor and the supervisor know. And that would be a good thing. I believe our department heads, and I've been through 3 mayors in a short period of time, as you know.
Yeah.
And one of the first things I did is bring the department heads for both municipalities together. And we discussed what the needs were and how we could help each other, and you know what we might do as leaders in our municipalities to enable them to be more efficient. Way before we had, you know, a big buzz, well, not way before, it wasn't that long ago, but before the big buzz of shared services and local government efficiency. And I'd like to think that at any time, our highway department, our rec department, I know they do it. They'll simply communicate if they need something, if they have a program they can share, if it's a tool, if it's men and equipment, rather than duplicate. And we do that in a very good neighborly way right now. I think the worst thing that could happen would be to have a supervisor, have a mayor, where there is a personal issue that gets in the way of allowing our departments and our employees to collaborate and work together as they need to. You know, I'd like to think our highway department supervisor can pick up a phone anytime and talk to any highway superintendent and say, do you have? Yeah. And make it work without having to go, you know, waste money and time. And we do that very well. I mean, that's very typical North Country. But, you know, we can chat as the day goes on a little about, you know, the issues with blended municipalities. But it is as it is right now, and we aren't going to slow down because of it.
And we're going to look at a lot of parts of the town.
Yes.
Obviously, in the scope of this program, we can't show you every square inch.
No.
You're getting a good, as you said in the beginning, bird's eye view of what this town is. It's big, it's rambling, it's, you don't mind if I use the word exciting, do you?
It's extremely exciting. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be here. You know,
Because we've watched, I live right adjacent to your town in another tiny, much poorer town of Schuyler Falls. But I watch you as I've watched your career, and I watch what happens because I have so many neighbors, family members, and friends who live in the town of Plattsburgh. And what happens in the town of Plattsburgh affects all the rest of this here and for far beyond the boundaries of this map.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. There are jobs such as the new Nova bus in the town, where there are people who live in the town of Schuyler Falls, Champlain, Peru, and come in here and depend on what's going on for their employment and livelihood. We also have people who live in the town and work in the city at the hospital or, the university. We are very much blended. These political boundaries should really only be viewed as a way to define responsibilities. I've got the responsibility for services, plowing of roads, delivery of water, and so on, to that group of people. Schuyler Falls will have those responsibilities to another group of people defined by these, imaginary political lines. And we need to be thinking as a collective whole. And, oftentimes I talk about the greater Plattsburgh area, the Champlain Valley, Clinton County, because no entity is going to do it alone, because none of us have all the resources or all the answers.
The world is smaller and smaller. This particular view right here proves that to us. It was easier to be parochial in the olden days, where we didn't really venture very far, as far as our horse and carriage would take us. Today, the whole world is within reach on the internet and in most other ways. So I think you're very intelligent at pointing out that one thing depends on the other, and we better start to adopt a more ecumenical view, if you will, of the whole thing. So we're going to take some trips today. What kinds of things would you like to show people, Bernie?
I want everyone to begin to see some of the diversity. I think one of the things, and I'll get a little parochial, it's important to understand there are boundaries. We'll come down Route 3 and we'll really clarify where the city and town line begins and ends, because you don't see it, and you shouldn't see it. Our codes, our zoning should be so similar that when anyone comes into the community, they don't go through a border crossing kind of an experience as they move from one municipality to the other. It should be absolutely seamless. But it's also important for me, as I can only act within the borders of my municipality, that people understand, because it's a 4-lane highway and has large parking lots and commercial industrial. It's not the city. You're in the town. I've had more than one state commissioner that I've had to point out that you're in the town, because I'm competing for grants, for funding, for projects. And many times there's a concept of, let me go talk to the mayor about economic development. You need to talk to the supervisor about economic development as well. And in New York State, there are many, many towns of 300,000 people. There are some very, very large towns that have grown. We're similar in some ways to Glens Falls, Queensbury. Many of us might go to Glens Falls, to the malls to shop, and really where we're going is the town of Queensbury to shop. You're not in the city limits. So some of that is important just because of the delivery of services, because of the marketing of the area, and so on. But we do work with the city. Very recently, the mayor worked with us to transfer some of the acreage of the Empire Zone so we could do some commercial work. Dory Kurtz and the IDA, Gary Douglas and the Chamber. We're all collaborating together in order to attract more growth and development. If I meet with someone who's looking for more of a downtown, more of a small city presence, I'm going to introduce them to my friend the mayor immediately, because we all benefit. And I'm equally confident if the mayor were to meet someone looking to do some investment, but they needed a lot of acreage to build, he's going to introduce them to the supervisor, his friend. So in that way, we do absolutely work together to make sure there's a mutual benefit here.
Isn't that great? So we're going to see a lot of fun
Let's get
things
out there and
today.
look
We're
at
going to
it.
see some of the neighborhoods. We're going to see that this town of Plattsburgh encompasses a great deal of different kinds of terrain and topography and people.
And we're going to see what's coming. There's some exciting
we'll
things
get the
coming. We're
crystal ball
going
out.
to get the ball.
I love it.
All right.
Stay with us. We're going to have fun with Bernie Bassett in the town of Plattsburgh.
I'm going to kill the engine so we don't have that in the background.
Well, we didn't travel very far, barely out of the parking lot, but we're on the Banker Road where the town of Plattsburgh offices are located these days, and this is one of the most important shots our camera will take today, Bernie, right?
Well, right. This is kind of interesting, Gordy, because in just the last few years, we have, in fact, when I came here 4 years ago, we did the groundbreaking for the building on our immediate right, which became Mission iTech. Mission iTech has very recently moved out. And that's unfortunate, but there were very, very few jobs there, maybe 8 or 9. It was a warehousing operation for some sports equipment. In its place, and you don't even see the signs of it yet, there's some work going on inside. There is a brand new company coming in. It will be many more jobs. They're going to be producing a high-end technical product that deals with fins and cooling for engines. I don't know all the specs, with some pretty decent paying jobs. So, the building was vacated very briefly, being occupied again by a new business that we're really pleased to see. And that's one of the things you have to think about. We oftentimes focus on, oh my gosh, there's an empty building and, something's gone, nothing's in there. But if you're out looking to attract new businesses, they can't all come in and build a multi-million-dollar facility. You've got to have some rooms available if you want to attract new renters, I guess, right? And we have that, and just in this strip. And we move up, we'll see what used to be the Home Bistro, and I've recently heard, I guess I can't verify it personally, but that the business that didn't make it through the tough economy was a great, great product. I had an opportunity to sample their work. It was like getting an Anthony's meal at home.
It really was, yeah.
It was great, and but it was a little higher end thing that's an option for folks. But I've recently heard that it has been bought. Of course, it's a buyer's market right now. Cash is king, and the chef has been brought back, and it looks like they're going to come back. And up from them, we have a brand new UPS facility, and beyond them, we have, of course, Nova Bus that we'll take a look at. So we see some new businesses and the beginning of an industrial park. And if you look on the left-hand side, we still see signs of the old, I think it was 18th century it started, Banker Farm.
It certainly was. The old...
94.
Yep.
Yeah, which is just a little bit of the look of our past and what's maybe our future. And as you mentioned, we just left the town government center. I would really predict that not too far down the road, we'll see this road with industrial, commercial on both sides, the east and west side of the Banker Road, with some serious changes in this road to accommodate the traffic. And our town government will be relocated. We'll take a look at that later as part of the redevelopment of the old county airport that will become our downtown and really elevate us as far as a municipality.
I think just looking at that map in the beginning of our show today indicates to people how large, I don't know how many square miles the town of Plattsburgh encompasses, but it's much, much larger than I think people envision in the beginning.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And my excuse, maybe it's an excuse, has always been I never use gray matter to remember things I can look up. So I'm going to be a little scary with some of the numbers, but you're right. It is a very large town geographically, but some of the beauty is we have space, as you see here, right across the road from what is evolving into a industrial center, are fields for continued growth and development. And that's an asset you really have to have. And the other thing that's kind of nice, and of course we're into late fall now, leaves are off, but we still see remnants of the old apple orchards. The master plan for this development has some really nice road cuts, walkways, park areas for employees to go to a picnic table, have lunch. So it becomes a very upscale, progressive center versus just industrial buildings side of road.
For people who think that here in the North Country we live in Podunk, USA, you are in for an amazing revelation throughout the day as we continue our tour of the town of Plattsburgh with Supervisor Bernie Bassett. Stay tuned. Toward the end, or midway past the middle of November in 2009, we're doing a tour of the town of Plattsburgh with Supervisor Bernie Bassett. And, we've been around here for a long time, and my eyes have been opened wide since we turned the camera on a short while ago. And I hope you pay a lot of attention to what's going on here, because we are right in the middle of the wave of the future here in the North Country. Bernie, where are we now?
Well, we're on the other end of the Banker Road.
Feel like Matt Lauer?
Yeah. Where are we now? Where in the world is Bernie? That's probably what they're saying in the office.
I love it.
Where is he today? He's not there. We're at the other end of the Banker Road, which was really a little two-lane farm road, very large farm, absolutely wonderful community servants, givers in our community, Mr. and Mrs. Banker, who owned the property that this facility, the Nova Bus, is on. Had the real privilege. This was one of the first very large projects I had a chance to work with. And I've just been so impressed. I did a field trip to St. Eustache, took a look at their operations up there. I was impressed with the company, the way they treat their people. I just think they're going to be a great employer for the North Country, have a nice long history here. And there are a number of new jobs created in these economic times.
Look at the parking lot. There's your idea right there. Look at how many cars there are in that parking lot.
I've lost track. There are 200-300 new jobs here.
Wonderful.
And I recall going through at various phases of construction, and I noticed the west wall of the building was designed a little different than the east wall. So I said, what's that about? The answer was that's in the event or when we need to expand.
Don't you love it? I love that optimism.
And that's where having, the acreage, which is something the town has, and the resources. Infrastructure is necessary. We have natural gas, public water, public sewer, fiber optic, and those become the tools that are critical to any high-end business. This company produces a real high-end bus. These buses will go anywhere in the United States, and that's part of what's beautiful for me. The waiting room they have for a group that may be here from San Diego to pick up their buses looks like a lounge at a high-end hotel. Provides all kinds of resources for them to stay here. And when I, again, heard the word stay, I got excited. That means lodging, it means restaurants.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Everybody benefits. And the spin-off results of things like this, way beyond the people who are working here today, let alone these people from San Diego are in my town for a while, and they're going to walk around and go back saying, this is a pretty great place we didn't know existed. And it will lead to more visits, more economic growth and development.
Novabus has a history in Montreal and in the United States out west. They looked at Plattsburgh a long time ago, and so some people thought they'll never get here. But guess what?
They're here.
They're here.
And Bernie, it was about a year and a half ago when Governor Patterson's first duties was coming here for that groundbreaking.
Absolutely. It was his first visit. We were very excited about, and it happened. One of the things that makes this happen, Gordy, and I have to make sure and say it more than once today, is the team that I have and the team that I work with. Once a business of this magnitude makes a decision to go forward, they've got to get those doors open. There's millions of dollars invested. They need to start producing a product. And I have to say, their architectural engineering, their management with this company was incredible in working with us. And, we made the commitment. We'll get you through the fast line. We'll pay attention to what's going on, and we'll need you to be cooperative and responsive to the nuances of our codes and ordinances. And together we can do this job, and we did. And it came in the way they wanted. And you look at the landscaping. One of the things I've said is we're not going to do cinder block construction with tin roofs in this North Country anymore. We're not going to get to the end of a project and say, well, we can't afford the landscaping this year. These people, and you don't see it right now, there's a beautiful pond with a nice water fountain. We've got the shrubs in, and this is year one. They made had a real sensitivity to their neighbors, the bankers across the road, and put cedars in and really made their facade look like something these people could look across the road, look at the land they sold, and be proud of what was built there. They cared that much about this community, and we worked together, and that's how you get businesses like this in. You don't create roadblocks, you create opportunity.
I dare say that there will be towns our size whose officials and residents will be watching this program. Thank goodness this modern internet brings us to the far corners of the earth. People are saying they're doing that in that little section of northern New York. You mentioned the word teamwork. Without it, you couldn't survive. But there are a lot of very bright heads working for the future of this area. You're one of them, Bernie, but you are very careful to point out that people who work in this town and for this town have been around for a while, and they're smart cookies, and they're competing against some pretty major stuff elsewhere. That's why Nova Bus is here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, the initial efforts to attract this company and begin to introduce them to some possible sites that would meet their needs. Of course, highway access was crucial. And having the interstate coming through the town of Plattsburgh with multiple exits doesn't hurt. But it was the Development Corporation and Dory Kurtz and her efforts to make this possible and market our community for us at that level.
Dory Kurtz is just one of the many resources I was just mentioning, but isn't it nice to have her aboard?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
She's a pretty smart lady. Where are we going next?
Well, I think what we're going to see next, things are so intertwined. I worked in education. In order to have a child be successful in school, it took more than just a good teacher. It took the tools, it took computers, it took books, it took training, staff development, it took good custodians, good facilities, parents that were actively engaged, a great school nurse, communication, newsletters. It goes on and on and on. And in order to have a new facility like this, you have to have a trained workforce. And today we're going to take a look at that a little bit. How do we get a workforce here? And there were some interesting things that happened collaboratively with the IDA, with Clinton Community College. But they also need a place to live. So what I think we'll do next, and it sort of is in our path as we meander about, we'll take a look at one of the region's first and premier affordable housing for workforce employees.
And this is your hometown view of the town of Plattsburgh. Stay with us. We've moved again, and I do want to point out that this is what we might consider one of our special end-of-the-decade shows. Calvin and I have started to think about this a long time ago, and that Y2K and all that stuff that scared the heck out of us, Bernie.
Yeah, you're right.
Gone into the mist. All these wonderful programs about Armageddon and Doomsday in 2012. We're planning far beyond that. So here we are toward the end of 2009, and we're doing it again. Time has a habit of just zipping on by, doesn't it, baby?
It does.
So where are we now?
Well, we're just around the corner from Nova Bus, and I think I was mentioning one of the things we need beyond all the infrastructure is, of course, a workforce. And I think town of Plattsburgh workforce, the North Country workforce, certainly not just town of Plattsburgh, has a great work ethic. Our genes are such that we know what getting up early in the morning and working all day, an honest day's work for a buck, really means. But we have to train these folks, and we'll talk about the educational and institutions, but we have to have a place for people to live. And everyone, children, should live in a home they can be proud of, they can feel good about. have an option to live in a community where they can step across the street and borrow a cup of sugar from a neighbor. This is where they learn to share and have a sense of community. And this was once just a field, and as a result of the vision of Gordon Hazel with JCEO. Gordon's just a great guy.
Our dear friend, Gordon
Our
Hazel,
dear friend.
yes.
And he took the need and materialized it into a result, which is this community. We have, I believe, 23 units, duplexes, and this has just come out to be a really nice project that allows for families. Several of these units are built for families where a member of the family, could be a child, could be an adult, could be a senior, has some disabilities, with the appropriate doorways for access by wheelchairs, and bathrooms designed appropriately, and so on. We have a commons building for recreation, for birthday parties. So it's building a community that can, suffice and meet its own needs and be a little bit self-sustaining. Something we don't see a lot of in the North Country. And this is affordable housing. It's workforce housing. So people that are entering into the workforce market, young people, and seniors that are looking for a quality place to live that meets their income, we have it here at White Pines Common.
It's nice, right on the corner of Nightingale Drive.
Yes.
Not too many, only several hundred yards off of Route 3, just so people know exactly where they are who are watching this elsewhere. But this is a perfect example of what we're talking about earlier in our show. Look at it. What a nice community with a little quiet cul-de-sac here. Nice pines behind there, and thus the name.
Yes,
right?
yes. And a nice example of working together. There were a lot of issues that came up with this project, as the JCEO and Gordon tried to work with their budget to build such a number of units, using grants, using funding sources that weren't well known by us, and for the town to try and collaborate with them to help meet all the codes, to provide the necessary water, wastewater, get the roadways in. Whenever you get a private development like this, we want them to build the roads up to town standards for all the obvious reason, access for emergency vehicles, and acknowledging that eventually the roads will be turned over to us for future maintenance.
For the people who haven't been to Plattsburgh in, let's say, 30 or 40 years, I mentioned the word revelation earlier in our show today, Bernie. This is going to open their eyes so wide they'll be truly amazed.
Well, we haven't been more than a mile or two yet either.
I know, isn't that incredible?
It is, and we're going to flip the switch and look at a more commercial side and some changes that have happened recently that enables and creates the need for new communities like this. We've also very recently, in fact we're doing it as we speak, been able to bring water over to the Moffett Road area. We won't drive up there today. We just don't have time to go everywhere. But it's another part of the community that will now have the resources. The acreage is there. They'll be able to subdivide those properties to create an area, a community for people to build homes, to live, homes that will be affordable for them because the infrastructure will be there. Prior to the water, the water line, public water, the water was so hard, it was just terrible. People just, had to go to the spring all the time, buy water. So those are the kinds of things we can do as a municipality that will make things like this possible. And if we've got the workforce and places for people to live, then we'll be able to get the businesses.
We're already thinking into the new decade as we talked about the end of the decade. We haven't even mentioned natural gas yet today.
Right, and there is natural gas here, and of course we've seen with the changes in the cost of fuel oil, we've seen a lot of new interest in natural gas. I built my home 10 years ago in the West Plattsburgh area, and that was the big question then. Do we go natural gas, fuel oil? My neighbor went fuel oil. I went natural gas. In 10 years, my utilities have not increased.
Think about it.
Don't need to say any more, do we?
That generates a big smile from Bernie Bassett.
Sure does.
All right, we're going to be on the road again with
Let's
this wonderful windshield tour of the town of Plattsburgh with Supervisor Bernie Bassett. We're doing our little tour of the town through the windshield and the sign windows with Calvin at the hometown cable camera, Gordy Little in the back seat, Supervisor Bernie Bassett. He's our leader today. Don't lead us astray, Bernie.
Oh, I'd never do that.
Where are we now, Bernie?
We're in another one of our industrial centers, and right now Calvin is focused on a business called B3CG that does some sub-assembly work excuse me, for Nova. And we'll look next at another one called Spencer ARL, which is another company that exists only because of Nova Bus. And that's one of the things that, sometimes we fail to see. We saw all the cars up at the new bus plant and so on, but these two businesses with a number of employees producing sub-assembly work is also very, very crucial to what's been going on. And, another great result. Now, another thing we can't forget either, as I look at Spencer, we've had, and we work very well, I work very closely with Empire State Development, ESD, and their folks locally and at the state level, as well as a number of other state agencies that are able to provide grants and incentives to bring companies in. But these two businesses will produce, for example, Spencer we're looking at now, will do engine work. They will get the parts, get the block, they put the engines together, and everything done electronic. You see screens, you don't see blueprints on tables. When Nova's ready to have an engine, they throw it in the truck, run it in, and it goes right in the assembly right on time. So back up at the big plant, they don't have to have an enormous number of parts and sub-assembly pieces waiting for the body to come through. Everything is shipped from these companies to them at the drop of a computer note.
You know what you're doing? You're giving some of our viewers a blueprint of what to do when they invite their friends and relatives in from Oshkosh and other places when you do your own little tours in the North Country. I know you do it. I do it all the time with friends and relatives who haven't been here for a while. I talk about the history of the place, but now I'll be able to show them a little bit about what the future is going to be like, and that's terrific.
Yeah, it is. I last summer took my brother from Virginia, put him in the car and said, I want to do some show and tell. Let me show you
Don't you love it?
what we've got, and let me tell you about what I'm doing. And, he's been out of town for a while, a number of years, but obviously has come back, etc., but never realized what we have, everything from the beautiful lake shore. We've got such a jewel there, as well as some of the growth and development that's taking place, the jobs we're creating. So you're right. You really need to just get out there, take a look, and people can see things indeed are changing.
Changing tremendously. Stay with us and you'll find out what those changes are as we do our windshield tour of the town of Plattsburgh. All right, we've made the loop and we're turning back onto Route 3 heading east into toward the city limits. And boy, this is talk about show and tell, Bernie B.
Yes, absolutely. And as we last left everyone, there were more really very attractive industrial commercial buildings in that park, and we're coming up on now some of the transition that's happening with Route 3, and that's our new Hampton Inn and Suites, which the Pat Akey and his associates have done, and really done an outstanding job and raised the bar in the Plattsburgh area as far as lodging. They have absolutely gorgeous rooms. And next to it we have the Microtel, which Pat also owns, and it's again trying to meet the needs of all visitors. This is a much more basic room, a lot less expensive. You need a place to stay, you're working in the area, you're doing a quick visit, moving on. We've got that too, and many more that we won't be able to see all of them. We start getting into some of our dining areas. We'll see the access to the interstate, which is huge for a community's growth and development. We have a number of ramps on and off the interstate that are in the town of Plattsburgh. More hotels and restaurants around us. I'm going to take us right down to the city limits because I think for many people, Gordy, as they get into this area with all the business and the traffic and the interstate and the 4-lane highways, they think they've moved on into city limits. We aren't. The malls, everything we're seeing right now and today is part of the town of Plattsburgh.
Remember when we had the original Pyramid Mall, huh?
Yeah.
And then we had the South Mall and the North Mall. And now we have things such as Consumer Square, and it just grows and grows.
It does, and these malls are going through a lot of transition as well. You're going to continue to see new businesses. You're going to continue to see some standalones. We'll soon go by Consumer Square. We have a new Panera Bread coming in there.
Oh, no kidding.
Which is going to be great. If you've ever been to a Panera,
are you kidding? Look at me and tell me I don't know about it. That's wonderful.
Their soups and salads are great.
My goodness.
A new experience. We also have we went by a former Lum's restaurant that's been closed for a little bit. We've had a lot of conversations with a Mexican restaurant called Moe's. There's one in Burlington.
Yes.
It's a really great product for Mexican food. They do a wonderful job. They and another dental business are looking at that property. Behind us on the west end of Route 3, there are some more businesses, commercial, a rental it's talking. There's just a lot of stuff that's coming our way, and through the winter it's a lot of finished projects, get the paperwork done, and in the spring we're going to see more new stuff coming into the town.
You mentioned how fortunate we are to be on this great north-south corridor we call the Adirondack Northway, Route 87, and to have such easy access both ways, to be able to zip up to Montreal in an hour and head north to New York City in 5 hours. You can't beat that, Bernie.
Now, I'm going to do a little loop in Consumer so we can see two things. One, where Panera's coming in that's new, but also Terry Maron's project, the Comfort Inn, that's finally getting going, and Terry's got some fantastic ideas about this property that's going to come back very unique and quite a new business from what was here before. It's going to become more of a destination, and I think it's going to be a great addition to our community and generate a lot of new sales tax. A little bumpy here, but it won't last long.
That's all right. Some of our viewers may not realize that there was a disastrous fire here at Comfort Inn some time back. It was a terrible blow to the community and to Terry Miron, and of all the difficulties he's had getting organized again, and now how pleasant it is for me, and I know for Bernie Bassett, to see those cranes and workers working and getting things built again, and that finished product will be the end of a new vision for Terry Miron and our town that'll be just terrific.
Yeah, it really will, Gordy, and I think that's another example of how we are changing the way we do business. We're changing the kind of product we produce. I think visitors to the area will be very pleased with what Terry's putting together for them. And I don't want to say too much; it's up to Terry. But it's going to be a nice upgrade from what was there, and it's going to offer more in this community. Right now, you see the ongoing construction of Panera Bread, and again, we don't want to dwell on any bad news, but these have been pretty tough times for communities and municipalities. But I hope you realize almost every corner we go to, there's something being built, and that's exciting. This guy's taking a look also. It's he's wondering when he can come and order.
It's amazing. What's the timetable for Panera Bread, Bernie? Do you know?
We're hoping December.
Oh, no kidding.
That's next month, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly is.
We'll see. They're working hard.
Get those nail guns working there, baby.
That's going to be a very good business. They're putting a little extra into this one. You know, with a lot of franchises, there's a cookie cutter. When they come in, they bring their cookie cutter, and we try to help them make it even sweeter.
Right.
We're just going to get back on 3 for a little bit. I want to take us to the town-city line because, again, I think it's important and what's where. We're going to take a right toward the city on 3. And one of the things you'll see is, and I talked a little before about, you have to have space, you have to have some vacancy in order to attract something new. Mm-hmm. We also have the former Ames Plaza, and that's been sitting for a long time, and there are a lot of reasons for that. But what I see it as is an opportunity.
Oh, I'm sure lots of people look at that as an opportunity, and every time we go by, we wonder what's going on over there.
There's stuff going on. In fact, the parking lot that we just left, you're going to see some construction in there before long. There's some more new things happening. I just can't go there now. And this part that we're still in the town is also going to go through some transition. I often try to tell my friends when they say, where does it begin and end? I usually try to tell them it begins and ends at the McDonald's, which we're almost there. And I'm going to pull into the old Ames lot to turn around and head back to town. In fact, we can see a Welcome to City of Plattsburgh sign. And just across the road, you'll see something new we did the last couple of years. We put in some really nice welcome signs for the town of Plattsburgh.
It's an amazing area, and once again, you mentioned earlier in our program, we're talking with Supervisor Bernie Bassett of the town of Plattsburgh, how, we all go about our business. And sometimes we put the blinders on when we head to work in the morning, and we sip that cup of coffee and head down the street, and we may not look to both sides. You certainly may not drive off the beaten path behind buildings and so on, so you may not have any clue about some of these things we're talking about today. And if you don't, I would urge you to pay attention to this program, watch it on television or on the computer, wherever you are, and tell your friends who don't live here or who haven't been here in a while about it, because we're getting a real education today and enjoying every minute of it.
Now, maybe you can catch that welcome sign. Are you still on? I'm going to go real slow. Let this car go.
I can see it behind the post. That's a nice sign that many people may have missed. Look at it. Isn't that nice?
I saw signs like this, as I know you have, Gordy, all over New England when we travel southern Maine, and on the back, thanks for visiting our community, come back again soon. And I said, my gosh, we're not welcoming people. We've got one that's a really nice one. When you get off the ferry, it lights at night.
Yep.
And that's what we want to do. We want people to feel welcome, to come into this community and know that we're going to be good neighbors. We're going to take care of you and your family, and hopefully you'll stay and invest. And if you're a visitor, return again soon. That's our message. We're going to go up Smithfield. You kind of can't come here without going in the Smithfield area.
Oh, no.
And you talked earlier about a project, a lot of conversation, naysayers, will it come, will it not come? And one of the big ones that I feel really pleased to have been part of the groundbreaking is the Target.
Or in more sophisticated terms, the Target.
Target, as we say. We're bilingual here.
They're all the wonderful. I love the wonderful rumors. As to what business may come next before official announcements are made. And for years we've been getting that. Will so-and-so come to town? Will we have a so-and-so in town? And then it comes, and there is a tremendous excitement. And that makes you feel good when people get involved talking about it, doesn't it?
Oh, it sure does. The rising tide raises all ships. You just have to be in the water.
You got that right.
And as we drive through some of these roads, we have to I have to go back and thank a former supervisor, Art Lefebvre, who was really instrumental in getting Route 374 in place.
For so many years.
Widening Route 3 to turn it into a 4-lane highway. I mean, these are some of the pieces. And since, as you mentioned, Pyramid Mall, look at how even that has evolved. We have new businesses to the left. I'm expecting soon to see this next strip mall be upgraded with brick to get much more of a New England appearance. And I'll tell you, Target has been quite instrumental to helping us attract some tourist dollars, some Canadian dollars. I mean, they literally come in there by the busful. And this is the only Target north of, I believe it's Glens Falls,
and
right?
It has a tremendous, almost international image, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It's a very, very good company. And the other thing we've learned, when you do finally get a Target, there are many other businesses that follow their business plan.
Coattails, aren't
and
they?
They just come in, they figure if it's good for them, it's good for us.
Well, it does. I said, the first thing I said when we started our program today, the Hometown Cable Spotlight, is turned on the town of Plattsburgh. And isn't it nice when the national and even international spotlight turns on the town of Plattsburgh? You know, we're not nearly as isolated as some people might think.
No, we aren't. Our website that we're in dire need of upgrading gets tens of thousands of hits every month from countries around the world. So there's a lot going on, and it truly is a flat world economy, and if we don't think we're competing at that level, you're out of the game. We're just going to take a real brief shot at the Tom Miller Road now, which parallels Route 3. And one of the things that we're beginning to see here is this also starting to develop like Route 3 did 30, 40 years ago into a commercial center, where we see a farm on one side of the road and a car dealership on the other. So we're evolving. And what the town's trying to do is keep in mind in our master plan how we want this to evolve. So it isn't crowded, it's quality construction, and we don't just create a area of congestion and economic development that isn't purposeful.
I think part of what we're showing today in this windshield tour of the town of Plattsburgh with Bernie Bassett in November of 2009 is that we live in a very special part of the country. Bernie has touched on this a few times. We didn't have our anti-earthquake dimension going in Calvin's camera today. But it shows that we not only have a tasteful growth, but we have beautiful countryside. You can see the rolling hills, you can see the hills in the distance, you can see a lot of trees, still farmland in between. And this Tom Miller Road was once known as the Miller Road and was little more than a cow path 50 or 75 years ago. Ruger Street, parts of which is in the town of Plattsburgh, was a dirt road up until the late 1940s, which people don't realize. Across the road here, you can see the remnants of the cattails and things to show you there was an awful lot of what we thought was unusable wetlands here. And that's always a consideration, Bernie, when you're trying to build something, when you're working with environmental people.
Oh, absolutely. I recall my dad many years ago in the area where Anthony's is now, as you know, it was a farm. There was a for sale sign up among these cattails, and gosh, he just couldn't imagine who'd be crazy enough to buy swamp.
Yeah, think about it.
That swamp is some of the most valuable commercial property today. So, but you work with it, and you do what you need to do. We just went by one of the many town parks. Also, we have a number of parks. One of the best recreation programs around. We won't get to see it today, but one of our new projects is we now have a 9-hole disc golf course, and we're going to make that 18. And we were able to do that with a grant and the hard work of that department. Something the city of Burlington was really fighting to get. They weren't successful. There are like the game of golf and the game of tennis, there are tournaments that take place through the area that we know we'll be able to attract. It's great recreation. The whole family can go out and play and do it. We give it for free to the community. And having the parks recreation is just a part of what makes a quality, healthy community.
We talked about infrastructure, and that's an all-encompassing term. But to watch it grow from the outside in is great pleasure for me and for our viewers, I'm sure, through Calvin's hometown cable camera, because things are improving all the time. It's a little bit hard to scrape up the funds to keep the roads up sometimes, but we manage to do it because it's important that we convey this image that we're trying to put out there, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I want to comment to that. Then I'm going to shift gears and we're going to shoot up to the north end. We just can't do it all as a running tape, but it is very difficult, Gordy. And one of the approaches I've taken through this tougher economy is that we weren't going to go into port. We were going to strengthen ourselves. We were going to pull the sails up to full mast. We were going to sail through it. And when it was over, we were going to be out in front when others are just beginning to stick their head out there. We were going to fight for our piece of the pie, and we've done it, and we've grown. And when it's over, we're going to be better off because of it.
And at the end of the day, it's got to make you feel good when you go to bed at night, knowing that you've accomplished so much in your short tenure.
I feel like a lot has been. That's right. It's been a very, very, very full-time job, as my family knows. This is one of the overpasses DOT is upgrading for us that will be ready to be a 4-lane, ready for our continued future growth. And we're also keeping in mind walkways with this, because we want to make this corridor accessible to bikers and people that want to get out for a stroll. So again, we keep building the infrastructure.
We turned onto the Quarry Road to let people know where we're heading.
And as I said, I'm going to shift gears and we're going to go north.
All right, let's do it. Over Calvin's right shoulder is the big blue water tank which says the town of Plattsburgh.
Yes, sir.
In case there's any question in your mind that we are in the town of Plattsburgh. And if you wonder if the picture of this end of town and the north end of town has changed over the last couple of years, believe me, it has. Does anybody remember the North Country Shopping Center?
Mm-hmm.
It was over yonder where you can see the mountains. It took a while to get it down, but it's all gone, Bernie.
Yeah, it's all gone. With the help of a grant we were able to secure through Empire State Development, have some good friends there that helped support us. We were able to take the strip mall that hadn't changed in too many decades and had most of their properties vacant, and clean it up the best way we could, which was to eliminate it. Infrastructure was a huge problem here, relative to water, especially in sewer. We were able to improve that, and as you see, we have a new Cineplex, Cumberland 12, which is the beginning of a project that we're calling Cumberland Commons. And I'm going to ask you to visualize a little bit with us, but this particular project is being led by developer Peter Edelman from Vermont, who's very experienced not only in what he does, has many, many properties in Vermont and beyond that he's done very successfully. He's the only LEED green certified business in the state of Vermont. He believes in quality. He believes in health and healthy communities. In fact, one of the big projects we just applied for a grant this year, and we didn't get it, unfortunately, but we're still very interested, is in also adding up here a indoor tennis, soccer, recreation facility. I'd like this whole complex to be built on the healthy community concept of getting out, doing things, recreating, and then from that to the south we would see where the mall was. A number of stores. There will be a grocery, there'll be a bank, there'll be pharmacy, there'll be restaurants. Toward the front of the road, the design has a pond in there with restaurants kind of wrapped around it and some of the commercial businesses. And that's what I'm hoping we'll see get going this spring. There's a great deal of interest, and again, for the corporate world, many of them are trying to hold on versus expand. So this past year was a tough one, but we've had a lot of very, very positive conversation with some names that float around town all the time that I'll be careful not to reinforce. But, where there's smoke, there's a fire brewing.
You got it, baby.
So you're going to see this redevelop as a center for employment, a center for services that has been long missing in our area.
I should mention out that behind Cumberland 12 is the Plattsburgh Lanes.
Correct.
There were actually 3 bowling alleys at one point in town. The old Nash Bowling Alley in the city of Plattsburgh, North Bowl Lanes and Plattsburgh Lanes. So this is North Bowl Lanes. Plattsburgh Lanes is gone and has morphed into many things over the years. This area has changed. This is no longer your grandfather's North Country Shopping Center, that's for sure. But you have a vision, and I'm able to, in my mind's eye, see what this might look like 10 years down the road.
Yeah, and you really need to. I brought a lot of state officials and agency people up here versus just talk to them and look at maps and get them out of the car as we are, and I'll take them just to the edge of this property and have them begin to look over these fields. The location's incredible. We're right at the exit for the Cumberland Head Ferry, so we've got that traffic flow from New England. It's the first major stop coming south on the interstate. The lake is a stone's throw away with lots of recreational opportunities there. So there's no reason why this can't come back, but come back in a much more modern, upscale way. And we see the Adirondack Mountains, the Green Mountains to our east. It's just an absolutely gorgeous setting, an area that I think, as time goes on, people locally as well as our visitors. And you know, Gordy, we talk a lot about our friends north of the border who really have helped sustain this economy and enjoy coming here, right?
Oh my goodness.
Over the years, right?
Oh my.
And you know, we can't thank them enough. But I'll tell you, one thing we're starting to see even more now is we're getting people coming from New York, Boston, just across the pond from Burlington. They're coming our way to spend some time because we're beginning to offer them more of the amenities and the services they want. So that's very significant that we keep that in mind. It's a great place, just an easy day's drive. Come spend a weekend, and it's places like this and the ongoing facilities that will bring them and keep them.
You know, there's a word we've thrown around a lot on this program and elsewhere, and it's destination.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first moved here in 1961, my goal on the radio for years was to try to make this a tourist destination. We have so many wonderful natural resources, historical resources, and it made me feel so badly when for a long time they would talk to traffic down around Lake George.
Oh, you're right. You know,
And say, oh, how was Plattsburgh? I don't know, we just went by.
yeah, absolutely. And there was that fear that the interstate would push people by
Yep.
because they could go a little farther before they had to stop to tank up the gas and
Yeah.
get a bite to eat. But, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that if you don't have anything to attract them. So it's our job and our responsibility to create the attractions, to build the tax base, create the jobs, which makes a vibrant community, keep our young people here. And, you know, and I see us doing that more and more. One of the key pieces that's happened recently, and I'm very pleased to be on that committee also, the Strategic Tourism Planning Committee, is after we passed the occupancy tax, the bed tax.
Oh, yes.
So we now, through our chamber that does a phenomenal job, Michelle Powers is just incredible with the work she does to market the region, and market the region in Europe as well as across the United States and Canada. We now are better able to control our own destiny and not compete for the few I Love New York dollars to market our region. And, you know, our hoteliers, I think they were very afraid that we would price them out of business with a little bottom line number, but it hasn't at all. In fact, if anything, the reverse is being shown, and the dollars coming in are far more than we projected. So now we've got the resources to promote this economy, to support you know, the changes that we're seeing a piece of.
I think we ought to have a new campaign. How's this for a theme? Discover the town of Plattsburgh.
We are now known as the Adirondack Coast. If you haven't been there, there's a great website that's up called Go Adirondack, and I would go there. I would put that website up against any communities. You watch it. I've watched it. My immediate reaction was, let's go. Let's get out in it. It's absolutely gorgeous, and we're starting to identify ourselves now as the Adirondack Coast. It just has such a different ring, and we look at the environmental assets we have as well as the community ones, and it's getting a lot of attention, Gordy. And you probably saw today's newspaper. We'll do a quick spin down by the new Plattsburgh International Airport, which is in the town of Plattsburgh as well.
Oh, yes.
And it's just growing and growing and growing.
Well, you talk about growth. You and I go back a ways, and as long as we're doing this as a kind of a historical piece at the end of a decade, we do remember when back in the day the growth was predicted to be in this direction.
The north
And it was stilted and stalled, and it headed west. And we've seen a lot of that growth today.
Yeah.
But guess what?
Yeah.
The north end is here.
And, you know, we both remember cars backed up on the ramp
Oh, my.
to come in and go to the beach, right?
We've talked about
the
it so
drive-in
much.
theaters
Oh,
and all.
yes.
But it changes, and there was a lot of question when Champlain Center South, as a strip mall, a nice strip mall when it was built, began to break itself up and create standalone structures. The consumer, the model, the expectations, the culture changes, and this particular location didn't change its model. It didn't keep marketing itself. So the world kind of changed around it, and it waited for the world to come back. Well, it doesn't. So what you're going to see happen here and now is something, and even with the design of this building, you don't see these things often. And Cal, if you want to catch that clock, I'm sure you probably did before. This is on there for a reason. When you look at the new the new airport, Plattsburgh International Airport, even that word versus Clinton County Airport, the Plattsburgh International Airport.
That's right.
There's a message. There's a subliminal message. My message, and nobody coordinated it that I'm aware of, with this clock, with that clock, and we keep doing it, is it's about time.
Oh, don't you love it? It is about time, and that's why I'm so thrilled and delighted that you agreed to take this little windshield tour of the town of Plattsburgh today.
Oh, it's exciting for me, and we're going to leave this area, but as I said, I hope in the spring you can come back and you'll start seeing pads coming up around this, because there's a great deal of interest right now, and we're going to turn this area live. So it isn't just the west, it isn't just Smithfield, it's the north, and it's going to be the south. We've got some plans there, but we're going to jump back on the interstate, I think. I'd like to go out to Cumberland Head. I'd love to take a look at that lake shoreline that we have. Is second to nothing. The Plattsburgh Bay that's along our boundaries is just gorgeous. But we're going to run out of time unless we do a series here.
Well, we could do 2 or 3. Who knows?
So
we have to make you promise to bring us back in another 10 years.
Another 10 years. There you go.
I think I'll still be able to get in the car by those days. Stay with us. We're doing our windshield tour of the town of Plattsburgh.
I didn't want to leave this spot without, for people not from the area, to show Whiteface Mountain in the background. That's where we are, in the shadows of Whiteface Mountain, where anybody who saw the 1980 Olympics would be very familiar with. But if Bernie, while we're here, could talk a little bit about why the rest of the people in the county should be cheering for Plattsburgh when you talk about sales tax revenue.
We talked about that a little bit off camera in the car, but that's important to tell people how that works, Bernie.
Oh, absolutely. There was a great editorial, I think it was 2 days ago, in the newspaper that was talking about all the issues with state government. New York State's very challenging right now relative to the taxing situation. A lot of concern with the spending that's going on. The Wall Street hasn't done well in the last year or so. And, how do we afford government? It's my belief, and I think it's the right thing, that, again, I mentioned you're either growing or dying many times. We need to be growing. When we're building the tax base, we have an assessment that contributes to the cost of services for you and I, to keep our snowplows going down your street will be supported by businesses like this and others. Sales tax is an enormous part of the revenue for Clinton County in order to keep services going and government operating. And it's something we need. We can talk healthcare, police, fire, it doesn't matter. The sales tax is generated by the various businesses. If it's the theater and businesses we've seen, Target, those that will come, is collected by the county, and then the county redistributes that. And there's a formula for that. But every single town, including the city of Plattsburgh, benefits from every nickel that's collected and redistributed to our communities. And one of the things we're looking at right now, in fact, the town of Plattsburgh is about $400,000 off budget for this year. And as you know, we've only got a few weeks to go. We're hoping it's a good season with Christmas sales, but all the more reason why we need to keep our local dollars local. All the more reason why we need to be bringing our friends from north of the border, from the other cities, from Vermont in here. Got to have something to bring them, right?
Yeah.
But once we do, we want them to come. We want to provide good services for them, and those sales tax dollars are crucial to every town in Clinton County. And we're real pleased we're able to generate the core of that, but we got to remember how very important it is.
Absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up, Calvin. We're on our way to Cumberland Head. So we did take a ride to Cumberland Head. I hope it wasn't against the wishes of everybody in the car, but how can you pass up a view like this, Bernie?
You're absolutely right. And one of the things I thought of early this morning before you came was that I should point out the fact that we framed photos of all of our historical markers. I think we have 23 throughout the town.
No kidding, 23. Isn't that wonderful?
So much incredible history that shaped a nation. And in these waters in front of us is where so many pivotal battles took place. That's part of our shoreline. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous area.
Well, anybody who looked at that aerial map that we showed in the beginning of our program sees how all-encompassing the town of Plattsburgh is, and Cumberland Head is a huge portion of it and has wonderful memories, great historical significance, and this road is not a road that people often take anymore right here.
No, since we have the Commodore McDonough Highway, commonly called the Connector Road. It's a nice straight line right through the peninsula to get to the ferry for people going to Vermont, to New England, or coming in, which has really been great because, as we all know, this perimeter road, which is a fairly narrow two-lane highway, had some real heavy traffic on it when the boats unloaded, and some speeding traffic trying to catch a boat.
Absolutely,
so
right.
it was a bit dangerous, but now it's a very pleasant shoreline highway for a stroll, for a nice drive, and you can really take time to enjoy the scenery.
And if you have a GPS device that's 8 or 10 years old, and when you're going up the Connector Highway, it says turn around, you're in a swamp, don't listen to the lady on the GPS. That's a beautiful highway.
It
and a
is.
Nice bike path along the side, too.
Yeah, again, they did a nice job with that, and it's part of what we're trying to do to keep the image of a healthy community. We need to have ways for people to walk, to bike, to hike. Those resources I mentioned, our rec programs before. We have programs on the water. We have Town Beach, a couple of town beaches. We do kayaking programs and so on to really get folks out there and get them moving about. But when you look at sites like this, you just want to get out and enjoy it.
This is a perfect location for Calvin's Camera, for Hometown Cable in our little corner, to get those people who are watching us from 1,000 miles away or farther to get their vacation salivas going because what a perfect day, what a beautiful spot. Eat your heart out, folks. We live here year-round.
And this, you're right, Gordy. And this is fall. The incredibly beautiful colors of the maple trees and our oak trees, the leaves are gone. It's not spring and summer when things are blooming and things are plush, and it still is absolutely breathtaking with the mountains and the fresh waters. Great fishing, as you know, and just a beautiful spot.
Well, so come on out to Cumberland Head. Come on out to the town of Plattsburgh. Where are we gonna head next?
We're going down to the new Plattsburgh International Airport, which is part of the revitalization transition of the former Air Force Base. That's also a significant part of our town.
I'm ready. Let's do it. You know, Bernie, that this is one of my favorite places in the whole world, right here.
I understand that.
Plattsburgh International Airport. Calvin and I and Hometown Cable made a commitment when the ground was first broken to come out here and chronicle the growth of the Plattsburgh International Airport. And we braved weather that was a little bit cooler than this and stood on the superstructure before the sides were on the building. And look at it now.
And beyond the building, Gordy, which is just gorgeous, I'm so pleased. And again, we see that clock. It's about time.
Yep.
Things change. And the design is just right. It's Adirondack, but it's also contemporary. It's designed for growth. But look at this parking lot. There are hundreds of cars parked here, which represents travelers, families, business people that have come into our community. They're exposed to our community. They maybe spent the night before they left in one of our hotels, dined in one of our restaurants, will shop in one of our many stores, maybe go to the movie, maybe just discover because they flew out of here what an exciting place this is and come back and just stay here for a few days or a week. And isn't that great?
We're recording this in November of 2009. Huh?
The 19th.
The 19th of November 2009. And in today's Press Republican, the local newspaper in Plattsburgh, there was a nice story about airlines expanding their services here. This is, talk about a work in progress. It's amazing. You remember that old phrase, if you build it, they will come.
Oh,
and there were naysayers, and my wife and I were reading those articles today in the paper, and we know those naysayers by name. We certainly won't embarrass them today.
I'd like to, but we won't.
But we'd like to. And look at what we've got.
Yeah.
And look, boy, talk about a vision for the future.
Well, our county legislature, I give an awful lot of credit to those
Absolutely,
people, to Bob Hines in
company.
particular. You bet. How hard they work. They took the future of air traffic, air service for our county in their hands. They decided to build it, to market it, and they did such an incredible job. And I've never been a naysayer, but I was thinking at that time, wow, do they have the expertise to be able to do this and do it right? And they sure did. They acquired it. They did common sense things, and we just can't give them enough credit for that. But you're absolutely right again with the naysayers, and you just can't do that. You can't go anywhere. You can't run when you're dragging one of your feet. And even psychologically, to have changed from a air service as the Clinton County Airport to the Plattsburgh International is psychologically very important. This is a cornerstone to a thriving, growing community, and we're just excited to have it in the town. And around this flight line has such potential for the aerospace industry. As you're aware, we recently cut ribbons on the Plattsburgh Aeronautical Institute. I know you were there for that one.
Oh, yes.
And you're going to see this area continue to grow and develop. We've all been holding our breath over a special announcement, a new announcement on the Laurentian project. Back 4 years ago, I think it was, we began to work with the Laurentian Group and a vision they had for providing a major maintenance service would make Plattsburgh the Jiffy Lube of the globe, really.
I love it.
Their product is absolutely dynamic. It's very progressive. It will be successful. But then again, of course, there were some funding issues. But I'll go on camera as saying the Laurentian project, which will be a huge catalyst to change around here, positive change, is not dead.
No.
It is not dead. As I talk with those folks, it's just a matter of, I truly think, not if, but when.
Yeah, I love that. And we're right adjacent to the former location for the historic Pikes Cantonment. Our good friend, City Clerk Keith Herculow, president of the Battle of Plattsburgh Association, has talked a great deal about it. And you talk about historic destinations. If people are listening to this today, I invite them to Google Pikes Cantonment, find out what it's all about and how it's involved in the history here, how it was burned and how it all transpired and how it was eventually pinpointed. We lost it and found it again. But I can picture people coming here, landing at this airport and going over there to drink in that history, can't you?
Oh, you bet. It's our Valley Forge and one of the many incredible historic sites that are both inland and on our shorelines. I agree with you. Keith Herculow is a gem for the development and promoting the identification of the historical significance of our community. And, another example of how our municipalities work together, working very closely with him, looking forward to developing that. And, we may be out there one day cutting a ribbon on a more formal site.
I'm ready.
See it.
I'll hold the picking shears.
I can see it.
Well, you're just scratching the surface on the future of the Plattsburgh International Airport here. If we come back in 5 years, in 8 years, even in a couple of years, you're going to be changes here. You're going to see changes here that is only a dream. Right over in the far distance is something that people who haven't been here have no clue what that is. But that's the old alert facility that has special memories for me and for a lot of people. That's going to be gone Some people wanted to keep it here for historic reasons, but after not too long, it's going to be out of here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The mold that's been accumulating inside of there is a significant issue. I had worked with a group. I'd certainly hoped we'd maybe be able to do something with it, build a business complex, a hotel on top of it, adjacent to it, let it hold offices. But it's unfortunate. It's one of those things that may not happen. I would hope back in our park campus, where we have the Transportation Museum and the War of 1812 and so on, we might be able to salvage a tube, a section, recreate one, and because that's a period in history
that's very important to me. I was here when it was built. I worked on every corner of this air base when it was built.
Yeah, you can just visualize the alarms sounding and the pilots scrambling down those tubes, jumping in their FB-111s, the flying the tankers just going off, providing the essential support for the Air Force on a global level. It was definitely an incredibly important Air Force base, and I think the story, I guess, has been told as far as what happened. But what this community did here, what this community is doing with Pfizer, what we've done that's creating the synergy to go forward is to not point fingers, to not wallow, to not wait for someone to come in and
open the door, let's walk in.
Let's do it. Let's take it. Let's go forward. Let's turn these lemons into lemonade. There's someone who once said a setback is a setup for an opportunity, and this truly was a setup for an opportunity. And I have to say, I think our community in general is in a better position now economically than it was then. We've gone forward. It was a great time. But gosh, how many municipalities have a flight line like this that's given to them? Nobody. You're absolutely right.
We got it here. All right, where are we going to go next?
Well, I think we're going to take a look at our community college.
Let's do it. Oh boy, if we moved again, we can't still be in the town of Plattsburgh. No way.
I know, you think you're in some, Virginia vacation spot, right, along the water, historical sites, but we are in Plattsburgh, and this is a real special spot. I think Cal right now is taking a look at Crab Island. We know the activities that happened there, the soldiers who are buried there, how history for this country changed, and one of the things we're trying to do in the town is take this site, part of our town shoreline, and develop it into a cultural historical park.
Oh my, what a spot down here. I haven't been here in a long time.
It's gorgeous, Gordy. I'd like to have an educational center. We've got some grant money to get under the train track, build some areas for docking boats in here, get some slips, let it be a nice family for educational trips. We can do some shuttles. John Rock and I used this pontoon boat with 7 minutes.
7 minutes to there from here?
Across the way, and we didn't have her wide open either, so it's nice, and families could come, they could picnic. We also are proposing to tie this into the city bike trail, which is just to the north of us, and bring it into this parking lot. So I see this as a key part of providing, the recreational, enhancing the historic, but also, improving this end of our community.
To let people know exactly where we are, we came south on Route 9 and we made a left-hand turn onto a dirt road where some of the familiar landmarks would be the old Nitzies and the oil tanks down here and so on, just to let people know what end of town we're at.
And Cal was just shooting Cumberland Head, where we were a little bit earlier in this program.
Sure.
So it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous spot, and a jewel that we need to develop. It's tough economic times. You hate to not do essential services, but we've always got to be building for the future. And this is an area, it's a part of our community that, we need to do some investing in and do something unique.
So let's do it.
Let's just do it.
Okay. We're not going to try to bluff you here, that's for sure. This is, as everybody who knows me knows, this is one of my favorite places in the entire universe. Clinton Community College on the bluff. Talk about history. Talk about natural beauty. We've been to numerous ceremonies here, including a naturalization ceremony here this past year. And every time I come up here, I feel enriched emotionally. So I'm so glad you brought us here today, Bernie.
I always make this a part of a visit to the town for a number of reasons. As you're saying, the historical perspective. We look out across the lake right now. We get another view of Crab Island, the monument. I can see a couple of ferries on the lake. It really points out the close proximity to Vermont, the gateway to New England. The White Mountains over there, but also it exemplifies this region, the greater Champlain Valley, town of Plattsburgh, which we're still in, of course, and the resources we have for education. Families want to have good education programs. Our public schools, I think, are outstanding. We also have a great tech school at CD Tech, which provides a lot of certificate training for a number of skills that are needed by businesses, by employers. And we have our community college, which has an outstanding program. I've had a couple of meetings with John Jablonski.
What a guy, huh?
What a guy.
We're glad to have him on
He's
board.
dynamic. He's part of the new vision. And they have the only certified wind turbine program really in the state.
Absolutely.
And we're working with them, thinking about doing some things with solar energy. I would love to have a lab experience for them in the town that'll provide alternative energy for business, and of course the university. And these educational institutions have really adapted their programs to meet the needs of the community, to provide for the needs of their students in the future. And that's a key piece to doing business in this area, to living in this area.
Right over your left shoulder, Calvin's right shoulder, the Ronald B. Stafford Center. What a boon it was when it was built. A lot of good, serious scientific thinking going on within those walls right over there.
Oh, absolutely. They have a great faculty here. They truly do more than just teach the knowledge of the past, but guide their students toward, exploring and researching and developing. And Ron Stafford, of course, was a great senator for our area. We see his name on a lot of monuments as a result of his lobbying and his hard work and efforts to get the financial support because he believed in this community. And, we certainly aren't going to let him down as we go forward either.
Oh, what a wonderful spot. We'll all come back here often, and those people who aren't here now wish they were.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, education is extremely important today, higher ed, post-high school. And for our community, for our youth, to be able to begin a baccalaureate degree program at a community college, they can save an awful great deal of money, transition into the responsibilities of going off to college and transfer without loss of credit into a four-year institution if that's their need. And if their need is a two-year degree, by golly, they can get one of the best ones right here.
What do you say we take a look at the former Clinton County Airport?
I mean, that's a great idea because that's one of the big visions for the future, but also we're going to find the Plattsburgh Aeronautical Institute, which is a real key component.
I love it. We'll be doing it in just a moment. Well, thanks to some recent industry right here where we're standing on the former Clinton County Airport, the world will know very shortly what PAI stands for, won't they? Huh?
Yes, they will. Plattsburgh Aeronautical Institute.
This is a great area. We were here for the official ribbon cutting and the speeches, and believe me, my chest puffed out a little bit, and I didn't have much to do with it, except that I'm a willing fan. And isn't it nice to see what's happening? Look over my shoulder, Bernie.
Yeah, you bet. We have to give credit to Jim McCartney, Dr. Barry Mack, and certainly others for, getting this program going. I recall when then Senator Clinton came out, we looked at a site on the airport, the old former air base, and here we are today. It's up and running. It's another tool for our future, for the development of aerospace. Again, that trained workforce we've had a little bit as a theme today. And as we've seen some things that have happened, we've looked a little in the future. Right now, we're looking at 700 acres of future.
700
acres. To the back of Cal, we border with Schombeck and some industrial projects that we're right on the cusp of. We drove up Ruger Street that will one day be a boulevard connecting the city and town, and it's going to connect it to what Cal's beginning to pan here, which will be our town center. I really see town government down here, a nice downtown area, really upscale. The river is to our south. There'll be some acre lots down there, half-acre lots, private residence. There'll be some workforce housing. Adori, the Development Corporation, has already submitted a grant. We're hoping to hear that will begin some of the infrastructure, some of the housing. There'll be some of what you and I saw at one time, Gordy, only it'll be the new vision, the new version of going downtown and shopping and going to the various agencies and services. Just off your back shoulder, Gordy, there's a vision for a 9-hole executive golf course through that area. So we provide some of the services people need. There'll be walkways, there'll be connectivity. You'll be able to, walk to the pharmacy, and it's just going to be a huge jewel wrapped by the Adirondack Mountains around us. It's just an absolutely gorgeous site. We've got the infrastructure. There's gas, natural gas, water, sewer. We're right off the 4-lane extension of Route 3. It just couldn't be better than right here.
Some people who've been watching the news over I'll say the last year and a half to 2 years, might feel depressed and might be a little bit reticent about turning on a television set on a given morning to see what the stock market is doing. But I think that you've given us a vision of today and of the future in our little windshield tour of the town of Plattsburgh today, Bernie, that has renewed our spirit, renewed our faith, and some secret ingredients that we have in the North Country, not just the physical ingredients, but the people. You mentioned the word teamwork. You've mentioned a lot of names. We've inadvertently left off a lot of names from our program because you can't thank everybody. But there are a lot of people working in front of this and behind the scenes to make these dreams come true. And you know what? I'm pretty proud of what you and the people in the town of Plattsburgh have done in the past, and this little vision into that crystal ball we talked about earlier is a pretty darn good one. Don't you think?
I think so, Gordy, and I really appreciate you and Cal taking time to help get the message out to our community so they have a sense of what's here, what's going on, to those that are going to watch this, that will come to visit, to invest, be part of. Everybody wants to be part of something that's happening, and I'll tell you what, it's happening here.
Bernie's door is open. The town of Plattsburgh has a website that will be upgraded and will be pretty glorious in the coming weeks, but don't be afraid to contact them, and especially if you're a business person with an idea to the future. Boy, would we love to talk to you.
We love to talk. We will make it comfortable.
Thank you so much for watching our program. Thanks for all your contributions, whether they're monetary or by way of ideas about what programs we should do in the future. Calvin and I are also committed to chronicling what happens around here, and every 10 years or so, we love to do a show just like this. So prepare for the next 10 years.
All right, let's book it.
See you later, folks. Thank you so much for watching, and who knows where we're going to be next time for our little corner.